What I have to say now has no scientific basis, only the thought experiments I have created in my own mind. My reason for telling them is that there are interesting topics, and one day I want to inspire someone on another subject, movie, book, scientific topics. I hope someday this part of what I say proves to be true. The topic I want to explain will be more about whether we can stop time, but this is not about Einstein's general or special relativity theories. But even if it is a sentence, Einstein says, the closer we get to the speed of light, the slower the time is for us, and if we could go at the speed of light, we could stop the time. After talking about it briefly, we can go to our topic. I want to start by asking these two questions. What do we call time? And the other question is time just a concept, or is it a reality that is actually like a table and a chair, but we cannot see, hear but feel? So what is what we call time, and does what we call then really flows? I think these are two important questions that must be asked to define time. First, I want to explain the first question and tell it on a small story. Year 2020, one day, you were a guest in a friend's house. You left as soon as you left work, but unfortunately things did not go as planned. You could leave the job you planned to leave at 18:30 at 1952. But fortunately your friend is a tolerant person and it didn't matter. When you say chat conversation or something, you do not understand how the time passes. You need to look at the informal clock sometime and take the phone out of your pocket and look at your watch. It's 23:57. You realize it's late and you want to get up and go home. Because there is work again tomorrow. What did we call time in this short story? In fact, with its simple answer, we see that the clock is moving. Because we calculate the time according to the movement of the clock. Here, a thought can also emerge. Time is always flowing and we can say that we determine this with a clock. We understand that time is flowing from the change of time. Now, let's go back to the old times when there were no wall clocks. How do we measure that flowing time here? In fact, the answer is that we observe by the sun or moon that most people know. Their periodic changes allow us to calculate flowing time. So what allows us to measure between two times in a place without sun or moon? So for example, let's call any time moment t and some next time t plus x. What could be the measure of the x difference here? To tell this, imagine yourself in a house. Let your location be the living room of the house at night. The windows are closed, there is no sun and moon. There is no clock anywhere in the house. How would you observe this x difference in time in such a situation? There is an important question to be asked here. How big is the x difference here? This size does not actually have a limit, it can be anything. The absence of a watch does not prevent you from measuring that time. What matters is what we say to that difference. Let me explain what I mean. You are drinking tea. The moment may be when you hold the tea on the coffee table, and the moment t plus x is the moment you sip the tea. The time change in this example is the difference between the moment you hold the tea and the moment you take the first sip. As a different example, the moment t can be the moment you take your left step and the moment t plus x can be the moment you take your right step. The difference between two times, x, corresponds to the change between two steps. In fact, it is possible to measure the time even by just stepping here. The important thing is to take periodic steps, always in the same rhythm. As we actually pick up at the moment t plus x at time difference of x, when you want you can put the change in the difference the moment it is sufficient to change. This change usually happens when the watch's minute hand is one click, i.e. seconds. But this can be anything. As long as there is a change between the two events, it will be impossible to catch that difference where there is no change. Because when you notice the change, you feel that time is flowing. If we give a simple example, you cannot measure how time flows by looking at the wall all day. Because the wall is always the same wall. There is no change. So can we not call what we call time the general name of any change that occurs? So if we come to the answer to the first question, what we call time is the most common name for any change in the universe. For example, it is a change that the world turns and creates day and night, a change of seasons. The demolition of a house in your neighborhood and the replacement of a new building is a change, and the cars moving along the road while crossing the road is the name of the roof where all these changes are collected. When we come to the answer to the second question, it is a concept when we give it to the most general name of all the changes in the universe. We call time for change briefly.